9. Welcome to the What Are You Making podcast, podcast about making things and making money. This is season 2. I'm Zech, joined by artists, copywriters, designers, illustrators, musicians, strategists, CEOs, all kinds of people here who are creating stuff. We're going to talk about what that's like. We're going to talk about how things are going. We're going to talk about all the things, handling change, money stories, AI stories, the whole thing. So new episodes out every Monday. This is episode 9. My next guest is a writer, content strategist, design leader, and a friend. He thinks in terms of brand and UX, and he's an advocate for his audience forever and ever. He has a background in the agency world. Today, he specializes in leading teams and making UX writing and product narratives better. Notable clients: Walmart, Expedia, Angie, Verbo, Outdoor Voices, and many more. Please welcome, all the way from Austin, Texas, Central Time Zone, Neil Petty.
Howdy, howdy from Austin, Texas. Thank you, Zech. You're a good intro. That was a good intro, man.
Was that
All
okay?
the podcasts have to have good intros, and you nailed it. Yeah.
I hope so. I try to do the balance of not reading the bio, like word for word, which is I think it's taxing for the person who wrote it. That's like, okay, I was getting a little excessive here, but you also want to hype up and say, hey, this is pretty cool. This guest is pretty cool. They've worked on a lot of great stuff.
Oh, yeah. No, you've got to have the street cred, as they say. Yes, and you are very distinguished yourself and worked with some amazing people as well. So I am humbled and honored to be in your presence. So,
well, I was on your show. I feel like I had to return the favor.
You were on our quick-lived show that we tried to do about similar stuff, about pivoting and all of that, but not as on the nose with where you're at. And so I appreciate what you do. Good stuff. And you were an amazing guest, by the way, too.
Oh, yes, thank you. And you still are podding because you sent a pod out today.
I am I guess I call it micro-podding, right? So I'm just copying folks like yourself. Like, I used to do audio podcasts for a couple years about absolutely nothing. It was like the Seinfeld of creative podcasts, just trying to talk to people. And then lately, obviously, with all the stuff that's going on with AI, I've been created a Substack and then started doing like these micro videos, shooting them on like a little Fuji X100. And, just talking about things just trying to connect the dots with all this AI noise, man. I mean, there's just so much to read, and like,
everything.
I think we see it. Like, some of it's so,
yeah.
The hype articles when you see it, the hype people when you see it, but then like, okay, there are actually interesting things that people are saying. So I try to like take that and, interpret that on greater, wavelengths that people might connect with. So.
That's great. And it's right. Like, I hate every day. It's all I talk about in every conversation. And it's kind of like the COVID days where that's all we talked about during COVID was like, when is this over? Blah, blah, blah. And I have to remind myself, this is a point in time where this is really important. It's going to evolve. It's not going to be called AI. It's not going to be called the same thing for 10 years. It's going to change. I just did a post recently about how everybody thinks everything new is going to change the world. Back in the
That's interesting.
Yeah. I posted yesterday I was reading this book, Nomadland. They made a movie about it. And have you read that?
I've heard of it. Yeah, I haven't read it, but no, it's very relevant. Yeah.
Yeah, and the woman writes, there's back in the 30s they came out with tow behind trailers to tow behind your car that you could live in. And they had all these amenities and, bookshelves and a stove and I'm sure dresser drawers and all this stuff. It blew everyone's mind. And everybody was like, trailers. That's it. Trailers. The future. Trailers are the future. And this guy who predicted the stock market was going to crash in 1929 correctly. So he was sort of this oracle. Everybody said, you are the master of the future. And once somebody calls the future once, they're like, you're like, you can call everything, right?
Oh, yeah.
They looked at this guy and he said, all right, this is it. Trailers by 1950. It was like 1940s. By 1950, half of Americans are going to live in a trailer. That's my prediction. And he just saw it as the inevitable. Every other house is a trailer. It's awesome. There's
Fair
no
enough.
downsides to towing your home, and nobody thought through all the basics. It was just so
No.
exciting that we, as humans, we just go shiny rock. This is gold. This is valuable. This is everything, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think like there's so much to learning as you go, like that we figure out, as we do it. And I think there's not a lot of doing right now. There's a lot of from here to there, right? Like kind of like the story you just described. Like there's a lot of like, okay, well, the people that are actually rolling up their sleeves and doing this and communicating it, like in a business or if you're freelancing and doing it for a client, like, which is a whole other dynamic. Like, what we're gonna learn as we do, and I've kind of fancied myself as a bit of a like player coach type, right? Like I manage people now, and I've done that for like about 5 years, but at the same time, like there's something to being in the work, and I think a lot of the people that are worth listening to right now are kind of bringing that up. Like, you gotta do the work. There's still work to be done, and then we figure it out. And so, I wonder. I think about that in the trailers, and they probably were like, "Yeah." As we started doing this, my house fell apart when we were going from here to here.
Yeah, I was living in this thing, and then another car hit it. Now I don't have a house. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
It wasn't a problem before.
We drove through 5 rainstorms and snow, and all of a sudden that dream we had just didn't really work out.
I know, and it's always doom or gloom. It's always there isn't a middle ground where like, yeah, trailers will be a thing, but for retirees, and they'll have ups and downs with that. And they'll be ridiculously luxurious, and they'll be like bare bones, but they won't be exciting. It won't be the topic of conversation. And we just think like it's either replacing all housing with trailers because we don't need houses anymore, or it's the opposite, which is trailers are bad. They should go away. Destroy all the trailers. That was a dumb idea. It's just like it's one or the other. It's kill AI. We can't have it. We have to pass laws against it.
Right.
Or it's replacing everything. Embrace it, and this is your newfound freedom. You just get a check in the mail from the government, and the robots are doing all the work now. So enjoy the hive.
You don't know how many people are like kind of striking that conversation. Like, what happens if? And like, oh no, what if there's no work to be done? What would you do? Like, it's this
what
funny
a conversation.
like
No work
it's a
to
funny
be done.
antic that people are like low key just doing in like small circles and like but again, I just think we're learning, and like I will say there are advantages and things to be thinking about, and I still stand by the mantra of it's good to learn and play right now, but like do that and recognize that things are going to change and evolve as we go. So, and we were going to learn the hard lessons too. So,
right. Yeah. Okay. Let's jump into your stuff. Cause we could talk about AI forever. I feel like, and all aspects of it. And probably our day jobs are full of it, and that's nice. Okay. So, let's talk about what you're making right now that you can talk about, or what you've made recently that you're excited about. Like, what are you making? What are you working on?
Yeah, so I work in UX content design. For those listening, you probably heard of it. It's sort of like this offspring of, folks that were in the digital copywriting world that worked on digital experiences and kind of evolved over like a decade and became its own thing. Like, it's a pretty bolstering like discipline that works along UX designers. It rests under design. I was in creative for almost like 10 years. And so by default, I just kind of slid into it over the years, having worked on digital. Most of us do. But yeah, I think, I've been working mostly, in retail environments and two-sided marketplaces. So I was at Walmart. And then before that, I was also at two-sided marketplaces like Angie and Verbo and Expedia. And so, all through like my most recent experience has been mostly just like leadership and teams. So it's like, it's it's funny you say, what are you working on? And at the same time, I'm like, well, I've got to take that with a grain of salt, because it's also like the people in my team are like, I'm working on it with them, but they're also working too. And so it's not solely me. And having just a really big hunger for good work, which, like yourself, like you've worked at some good places where the bar is there's a standard, and making good work is like what I like love it. Like I love it. And it's cool when I do it, but it's even cooler when you're working with a team to do it. That's a big, hard lesson that I had to learn getting into leadership, is you're not the person, doing it anymore. But you are, but and I'm in it, like my mantra. But yeah, I think, the real interesting thing is just like UX design, working in like things like retail, just, coming up with I think one through line with all the places I've worked, like, again, two-sided marketplaces like Vrbo, which is, vacation rental, and Angie, which is like two-sided marketplace, you get a service pro to your home, and then Walmart, where you're in the store. All of these have the through line of what you call like omni experiences. So it's kind of like Disneyland. Like you not like Disneyland, but we design and we think about not just like you're on your app and doing something. You are on your app, right, and you are like going into a store or unlocking a vacation rental, yes, or talking to your wife about this person who's coming to fix your roof. So there's this like little IRL tinge to that, and I think that's where it gets really exciting to me. Some people call it like service design, some people call it a lot of things, but like just thinking of the full journey and of a person, like from the minute they walk out their house, or the minute they have an idea that they're shopping for something, and what we're designing, and their preferences, and the things that they deliberate, and the choices they make, and trying to get that right. There's so many experts out there, that are working on like mega serious digital platforms, and like their jobs and everything they do is so intense and interesting. But I kind of like, I think there's offline moments in design for all of us, and that includes when creative comes in, and when you see the brand, and when you see the ads, and they tell you to do this or sign up for that. Like, those matter. Like, those are the handoff points. And when you're thinking about like making a decision, and then when you open your app, and like the second you see like that in like your Walmart app or something like that is where the handoff is, and where my team begins, and where design begins. And so it's been really interesting, carving out those journeys and thinking about people and every step of the way. And then, having research and folks come back and tell us it's wrong, or we try it and it does okay, or say that it's great. And so, a lot of empathy, and a lot of like, IRL, and, so forth. So, yeah.
Yeah, I remember at Working Co one time we had somebody come in, and it was a hotel app, and they were trying to figure out how to get the app to unlock the door, and they had like a door prototype, and they were holding it to the door. And I just remember thinking, like, how incredible that you can just hold your phone up to something. And I don't know if it's Bluetooth. I didn't work on the project, but I got to watch them like turn this door lock with the phone.
Yeah.
And it was like literally a click, where you go, it clicks for you in your brain, where it's like, oh, you're not just holding a phone, you're holding like a key to a door, or for Disney World, like you said, a key to an experience, or
right,
a connection to a service that you need. That's all changed. It's so wild how it's all changed. It's like we had keys, and then we had little cards, and now we have phones, and now there's going to be something in the future. Maybe with Disney, it's the wristband or whatever they wear, and it's kind of fascinating to see how this stuff just evolves, and working with people to understand it. And it's a really exciting space to be in.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And I think I'm a firm believer of, it's not just designing like UX. It's not just like getting the person to do an action. It's also like, what are those brand moments? And I'm trying to kind of tie over to like some of your other guests here, like I think what are those brand moments that happen, in the middle of that journey, right? And it could be just like a nudge that like, in an on-brand way is like reminding you something that's useful and or celebrating you, and it's not necessarily transactional. It's not necessarily like trying to get you to take action. It's just sort of like reminding you, and it's not an ad. It's not like a deal or anything, but it's just sort of like, hey, we're here, and like, we know this is going on for you, so we just wanted to say, hey. A lot of folks would say, oh yeah, that's probably a waste of time, or like, that's not a good use of like the user's attention. But I think that like, there are things you can't really quantify in terms of like moments of joy and things like that you can inject into someone's day, as long as you do it well. That's the trick. Do it right. Don't make it suck.
That's right. It's a fine line between what surprises people and what annoys people, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about money. When it comes to freelance, or I don't know how you think about money, or anything related to the money topic, however you're comfortable talking about it. Like,
yeah.
What are you thinking about when you think about money?
Well, I think, we're all on our own journeys in our own careers, and so how we price ourselves and think about that is kind of independent to us, right? And I think like I am probably the worst at this question because I have
pricing,
a lot of.
You mean?
Just at money mainly, because
money.
I find a lot of joy in what I do, and like I think a lot of the reason I'm in this is for, design, creative, like all of it is like because it's what I like and it's what I love, and the people, of course, like that being around good people is some of the best commerce you can ever have. I've been lucky to work with just great folks that honestly shape me to be a better person, and I think that's priceless. But if I were a freelancer right now, or if I was, or if I was thinking, if I had my own agency or something like that, I'd be thinking a lot about like AI systems. Back to the scary like term, but like Oh, say more about that. That's a very rare
AI systems, because like I would not connect AI systems with pricing as a freelancer. I'm curious.
I mean, I guess like here's the perspective. So when is that client, let's just talk in freelance terms, when is that client going to stop and say, are you using ChatGPT, or what are you like, how are you doing this, and what are you and why are you charging me like X amount, like charging me like $500 an hour or whatever for I would think clients are starting to wise up to that and want to understand like what your automation process is or what your exploration process is, and if taking it a step further, they may want to know, could you build something for me that is doing that, and how much would that cost? So if I were like, say, a copy, and I know I'm speaking like as if I was a copywriter, creative, so freelancer, for example. If you're a design freelancer, there's going to be a lot more things that go into play. You're going to have research. You're going to have like a lot. I mean, you might have that with copy too. If you're a creative director and you want to outsource like a brand strategist and get research, like sure. But like even still then, it's like, oh, you go and you use Claude to go do a lot of brand strat research.
Sure.
Or competitive analysis, and you charge someone like, you say, okay, that would be $10,000. They're going to be like, well, how did you do that and why? So, not saying that's 10,000. I'm just throwing out a weird figure, but like, Zach's like, yeah, I pitched.
That sounds good. I mean,
I go do your stretch for 10K. No,
can I say something about this? Because this came up in the finance world. I watched some finance shows, and the finance guys are really scared. Were really scared last week when it came out.
Why?
That some of these I don't know if it's Claude or somebody came out with like a thing that does all this financial analysis, does all this stuff.
Was it the Goldman models that like people were like, I don't know, I found it in my feed. It was like, and I don't know if it's true. Here we go. Smoke, but like they were able to do like Goldman Sachs level financial modeling and
they were also saying they're going to replace the Bloomberg terminal and anyway,
wow.
all this stuff where it was like, well, we can just code that, blah blah blah, and financial advising is going away because you can just talk to Claude, and just like everything else. And I really thought, and Peter Thiel, whether or not he's the Antichrist, like he had an interesting point about how he said something a couple weeks ago about how the numbers people are at risk, not the word people. He's like the word
interesting
people, which all I've heard is like writing's done,
but I mean,
writing's
well
and
okay, yeah, I have something on that, but go ahead. Yeah.
So and he does a lot of writing and he's doing lectures and all this stuff, so he's a writer. Okay, so he wants that to be true, but I think there's something about writing and thinking that is really, I don't want to say irreplaceable, but it has a zone that the AI maybe can't replicate. Whereas if I'm doing financial advising, should I buy this stock? Should I invest in this bond?
Right.
Should I blah blah? It's going to be like, here's the pros and cons. I would do this, and it's not going to make mistakes as long as you're checking the work and all that. Versus a financial advisor with like 20 clients, they might overlook you, right? So
interesting.
That was the big fear. It blew up the industry. Everyone was nervous, and all these guys, these really wealthy financial advisors, were like, "Oh no, that's it for my job," which we're all having that feeling. And then somebody just had some, like, again, common sense of the response being, "Hey guys, there are people that don't want to talk to Claude. There are always There are always going to be do-it-yourselfers who are like, I spun up a thing, I made an app, I did a deal."
Oh,
always.
Yes.
That's always going to exist, and there's going to be clients who are like, I can make this myself. Why am I paying you? Okay, that's not most people, and a lot of people pay us because they don't want to deal with. I don't want to deal with the Claude Code strategy. Client competitive audit. I don't want to read that or even try to think about that. I'm paying you to do that. So I thought that was interesting, where the finance guys were worried, and they're in the math world, and their response was actually like, there's a relationship between a copywriter and a client that you're paying for the relationship, where they don't have to go talk to a chatbot or a box. Okay, and that's going to exist in the future.
That's kind of interesting. Yeah, like you pay for the relationship, and that, I think in design, like that's even more critical because it's, I mean, you're probably tracking like the thing around craft right now and discernment. Those are like really big buzzwords right now. Yes. Who's going to make the decisions, and like understanding like what the final outcome, the final output will be. And especially in the design process, there's just like so much that goes into the upfront of, and there's trust that's built, right? Like at every place I've worked at, like the areas where we have design like really humming and like where it's really going really well, and it's never perfect, but like there's a simple unspoken amount of trust between like product managers and designers and as well as researchers, and because someone has to just be so obsessed with like the customer or the guest or the audience, like someone has to just be so emotionally in tune with that there is like no holds barred, there's nothing in their way, and they are that voice of that, and there's that trust there. Because you're getting into a thing about tension, which is like a human element that will not go away between us all. And it's funny, I've been reading a little bit off and on how tension is actually rooted in trust and like rooted in human behavior and natural behavior. And so I wouldn't be surprised if the open AIs and big company, big AI models of the world are like trying to figure out how to crack that code next. Like, how to make it more natural through tension. But tension is trust. Yeah, seriously. So
Yeah, there's a whole lot there that again, back to the panic that people have of it's going to replace, and we don't think about all the intangibles. I used to call it brand therapy of when you start a project and the client's just dumping. We would call this trauma dumping or something on you, like why they have an issue, what's going on internally.
Yeah.
And you become
They're gonna do that.
you become a partner in their suffering.
Yes.
And
That's
you
another
help,
way.
and you help them process and come up with solutions that they're maybe
Right.
too chaotic to process. And I get that
Totally.
people use AI to do that. They go, I need to have a conversation with my partner, and it's a hard one. Let me test that with.
Oh yeah, that's coming.
That's happening, and people are using that. Okay, great, but that doesn't replace all therapists. And that doesn't replace your friends or people that you'd have a drink with to chat about something. Like, it's just you need that on a primal level, right? That a box. Imagine being an animal and being like, go to the box and ask the box a question. Like, at some point, you want to ask the other animal a question.
Well, I think I'm an optimist when it comes to AI. I see a lot of if done right, like lots of good that comes out of it. Some days, most days, but I think there's, for some of us in this field and for some of us who are doing the work we're doing, there's like a craving for intelligent conversation. For even in all the twists and turns that we have. I mean, I'm no longer like go to like the clubs. I'm not a night person anymore. I wake up in the morning and love my coffee, and most of my friend dates are coffee. And there is nothing like meeting up with a friend and having a cup of coffee right now. Like, I don't know how y'all are feeling, but like it is like probably one of the most awesome things. I mean, of course there's conversation can easily get consumed with stuff that's going on, and we try to, but like it's so cool how a good conversation goes, and like how therapeutic it is, and how just relaxing it is. And I would think that if people were to look at the future of experiences, or look at like how AI can do things for better, it's to nudge us in to those conversations more, and like get out of the way, like be more of a facilitator of the social glue, and less like intrusive and rigid kind of with tight corners, like kind of like what you were describing with the lack of relationship with Claude as an extension. I think it's there's a natural nuance to that, and a natural want to that. So
absolutely. Let's move on to I want to skip around a little bit to, since we're talking about it, like AI. How are you using AI right now at work? Like, what do you have it as, like a thinking partner? Are you using it to test things?
I can talk about personal. So like personal and side projects, like I have so I had a vibe coding kind of like jam here in Austin called Imprompt, where I get about like 5 colleagues together every other month, and we just get in a room and we have pizza, and we have sort of these prompts that are very creative and wild, and each person uses whatever tool that they want and makes something, and then the other person takes it and remixes it.
What's
an
example of a prompt that would be on?
One of it was like your friend brought a unicorn into the office. So I did a creative mornings on this. I don't know if you remember. I think I got a note from you. Yeah. But it was something. They're crazy. They're like these like day in the life's gone complete sci-fi fantasy, and it's for a reason. So you push it, right? Like get creative and come up with crazy prompting and meta prompting to get it right. And so we do those jams, and I think, again, that goes back to what I was saying about this theory of play. So, like, I think we're still in a play stage and a do stage right now with these tools. And so, how I use it is really just to get in a social environment and get social with it, and, like, get others in the room and do it. Specifically, though, you know, on a more singular level, if I'm researching facts for my Substack, if I'm wanting to summarize an article, talk points for videos, not writing the video script, but just outlining points, like rough outline, super helpful for that. But yeah, I don't I'm not yet there with like Claude Code and like complete life hack MCP all the way, which we're reading about like almost daily. I don't have 100 files on my machine that need to be organized just yet. Like I'm not, or do I need something to book my calendar quite yet? I'm not there yet. I like don't really feel the need for it, but for sure all about like getting in social environments and pushing it and like learning from the person next to me, like, oh, you did that, oh, you did it like that. Yeah, I like collective vibe stuff too. We do like playlists. We all talk to one agent, let it start to absorb what the room's into, and then comes up with like a Spotify playlist for us to rock to. That was pretty fun. So
I love that. I mean, I love what you're doing.
Consensus building.
You're taking something that everyone's getting really in the corner in the dark with, like. I don't know. Like it's always in the news. Like somebody's AI told them to leave their family or whatever.
Yeah, there's some bad stuff going on.
There's dark stuff. It's like, okay, if you pull that out to a group using it, and you use us to like glue together with different people, strangers bond or friends have an excuse to get together. I mean, it sells itself, right? Because it's not treating it like it's a hero. The hero is like you in the moment, right? The hero is Neil's remix, right?
That.
And then it downplays it, and it's like, yeah, it had some stupid ideas too that I didn't use, and it sort of makes it, I don't know, like. It's like, again, it's back to like, is it the most important thing ever? Like when movies with sound came out, it was probably like everyone's only going to go to the movies and obsess over the movies, and they're not going to really do their job because the movies are so great. now 100 years later, it's like we can't get people to go to the movies.
It's wild. Yeah,
they would rather go watch a small box in their house than go to a theater, and it's actually not that expensive, and it's actually pretty fun. But we can't, and people aren't rational, like they don't. That's one example. So I think it's with AI. I think you're taking it and flipping it. A lot of these founders are getting together and they're going, "How do we monetize?" And that's great for their business. But like, I love the personal fun part of it. I think you've always been interested since I met you. You've always been about play. Like, how do we play
all
the
the
space, get people to play? Because there's no wrong answers there, and everybody sort of gets rewarded, right?
Well, I actually, I think it was you. You showed me. I had not had a paid Claude account, and you showed me this art piece that changed colors or something. It was real simple. Yeah. And it was you, man. And I literally, like, my daughter was like literally a month old, and I'm like sitting on the ground, and she's near her while she's like knocked out asleep, and like not like physically knocked out, she is asleep, and she sorry, I had to throw some jokes in here. That was a bad joke. I like it. You shot me that, and then I remember I looked at it and like I saw this button that said remix, and I said, whoa, hold up, like that's smart, that's cool. And coming from making electronic music and beats and all that for like a decade. I mean, when I used to perform and do music back in the day, when I see something like that, like when I see something like that, like it looks like a music player control and it says remix, I was like, whoa. So I can take what Zech did and like literally like find my own version of it and like play with that. And I did it. And remember I tried to I tinkered on it and I sent it back to you. I was like, we should like post a Substack about this. And you were like, sure. like, yeah, that's cool, man. And, but it was like real buggy at first. I think if I'd have done that same thing now, it would have been like extremely cooler, but like it was a really cool moment. And that was when I discovered it, was thanks to you.
I got you Claude pilled.
You got me Clauded. Yeah.
Clauded. So, and now everybody's saying, and now it's interesting now with OpenClaw and all that stuff, like, it's like give unclog your access to all your stuff and just go away. It's almost the opposite of remix because it's like let it remix and you go to bed.
Yeah.
And what a shame to not be able to do the remix and be in control of it.
They took it away. They changed the button. It says customize now.
Oh, does it?
And I think they ran a test or something, and they were like, nah, like the masses don't want the remix. The masses wanted to say customize. Shout out whoever makes that decision or whatever. Yeah, whatever product manager. Like, I wish I was there that Anthropic day. I wish I worked at Anthropic and could see the slide on the screen. Well, everyone, it's a sad day. The remix button, we did a test and customized just way better. I know y'all are fans, but we're killing the remix. There's no more. And they're just like, oh man, the numbers on customize are just going through the roof.
The questions on what remixes just went up.
Yeah,
it's like it worked for 1% of the.
I still use
it.
it. Yeah. I still use it. I still use it in impromptu. I still use it as like a term, because to me, man, I still see all this stuff as like instruments. I still see all this as like. I think that's why I have such a weird lens for AI, and maybe a positive one is because it all still reminds me of music, making electronic music like on Ableton and synthesizers. I mean, there's another analogy. Like, I bet when they came out with the electronic keyboard or the synthesizer that they were like, music's going to die. It's over. It's dead. What has happened? This is just some sound. And like, look where we are. So, yeah.
I mean, I remember, when you're a kid and you think like, I wish I could add or you're making music. If you are a musician, you maybe have that moment of like, I want to have an orchestra play my song, because you see the Smashing Pumpkins did it, and then, or your favorite, Green Day did it with the Philharmonic or whatever. There's always like, it's like the ultimate level of music is like an orchestra for some reason, like that.
Yeah.
But then if you could do that, you could just do that in Ableton, like have strings play stuff.
Oh, totally.
And then you go, oh my gosh, like I can be the leader of the orchestra, the conductor.
Oh yeah.
And
so you can layer and layer.
You can conduct with these tools, but they're not self-creating the piece, and they never can, because that's how we get slop, But if you're if you're conducting.
Always saw it that way.
There's something interesting about it. I do love the remix thing, because it is very much back to your point of getting people together, and the people who remix other people have to talk to them, and they have to say like, here's the sounds, and here's what I'm thinking, right?
That's what those musicians did. In like what? I mean, it was mostly in like dance music or rap music. They're like, hey, like DJ Premier, I'm gonna like remix your, Tribe Called Quest song. Okay, like, how's it sound? Okay, let's trade it. All right, like, send me the tape in the mail or whatever, and I'll send it back to you. Whatever they did it back in like the 90s. But remix culture was like huge in the 90s. Like, it was just like you didn't even know what, like, I mean, it's still big now, but like you didn't even know what version of the song you were hearing, or a song would get more popular by the remix artist than the one that was on the record. And I know that still happens today. I know it's not like a new thing or anything, but like it was a lot more like that was when that stuff broke out and when people got really excited about it. But yeah, I like how I love that analogy, how you were like remix is more of like an exchange. And so, yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, there's some kind of respect paid with the remix, right? Where it's like it's their song, but I'm doing my take, and if you like my take more, it's great. But you don't get Godfather 2 without Godfather.
Yeah.
Right? It's like don't praise me. Like I took this stuff. Okay, let's talk about work or fun or whatever. Do you want to show something that you've been working on, or just talk about it?
I mean, again, like the last like 5-ish years, like all due respect to my team, like, there's not much I can really share. A lot of the thing about working in UX is that there's a lot of confidential, work working in design and UX, and I can't really pull up, but I can speak to a couple things, and like, I think one thing that I'm really proud of that I know that I had my hands in was like a lot of brand voice and tone, which kind of bridges over between copywriting and UX writing. And honestly, I think is a very going to come back as a very big thing for AI training and model creation is voice, tone, and persona. Um, I think, I did a lot of that for Angie. I created their voice and tone guides
Nice.
with James Ryan. Shout out James, just a great copywriter, UX writer, just a hybrid guy who was just talented. Verbo, started the foundations for voice and tone there with the creative team. Great people there while I was on the UX team. So I was on the UX team for all of this, but it was these moments where we had to come together as UX and creative and put everything down and say, okay, we've got to come together for this because you're going to use it, we're going to use it, and what's the system and how do we write for these brands? And so that's coming obviously for like any agents that we use, like obviously, and we need to make sure that's right. Staying on brand is for real. I think you can do anything, in terms of UX writing, but you need to have craft with it, and agents will be able to do that, but we need to have the foundation. So I did that, and then I had some like freelance, during the pandemic and adjacent, just some worked on like a outdoor voices collab with St. Vincent and Outdoor Voices. It was
Wow.
it kind of fell off the radar like because of well, maybe it didn't. I don't know. It happened. It launched like when COVID was breaking out, like Feb of 20. And I was so sad.
Fist at the sky?
Oh yeah, shout out Nicole Slevin, Chris Ralston, the team there. Like they were like kind of some of the OGs in Taihaney Sweet. Like I think that project got handed to me and it was like, okay, yeah, come up with like this idea of modular outfits, and I was like, oh yeah, St. Vincent modular sense, yeah, outfits that you can just pull together, and came up with like the kind of purpose and wrote that. That was a cool freelance project.
That's awesome.
Then a bunch of DTC brands were going ham, like, between 20 and 22 and coming around wanting brand voice. I probably made like tons of guides for like everything from people that wanted to do bedding or do pants or do supplements or whatever. I was like almost worked on a Shark Tank brand platform and all that, but they didn't have any money. Yeah, I was like, well, not for a Shark Tank. Not for a Shark Tank, but someone who was gonna go on. They're like, I'm gonna go on, and I got this strange email, and they were like, you seem like the guy, and I was like, okay.
You seem like the guy for Shark Tank.
Yeah. I mean, I did that stuff kind of on the side, and for a while, I'm not really freelancing much now. I'm definitely not. I think definitely like exploring play and fun with AI and getting in the conversation like with you. This is kind of where my joy's at right now. Reading, learning, working. But yeah, I think, those guides and things that we did, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in those. There's a lot of deliberation, there's a lot of who's doing what and roles, but they kind of do become this nice little centerpiece where, teams do come together. And I'm hoping that as, the AI agentic roll out and how people adopt that as that proceeds, like that folks are it's gonna continue, and like folks are gonna come together and share their peeps and share their teams to kind of make those central guys that make a brand experience good. So that way us on the design side can make it right and like make it sound right and all of that. So yeah.
I've been talking to another writer about this a lot, like brand books. We talk about the brand book as a piece, as a leave behind, sometimes never opened again, sometimes immediately used.
Right.
With, LLMs, is it going to be creating the voice and tone, or I'll say brand voice attributes to get really specific, and then training something to be guardrails and sort of grade future content? Is that really what we're going to hand off? That's just what's coming to mind right now.
That's one way. I mean, again, I think that approach on what's on brand is going to come from more of the brand creative side, which I haven't worked in like years. So I think if you have a guest on that's like immersed in that lane, I'd be interested to see, or I'd be interested to hear how they're thinking about it in current teams and places I've worked. It wasn't talked about. It's still kind of like how you described, like get the brand book, make it. It's in a PDF. That's it. Like refer to it. But I am hearing about, there's a lot of stories like floating around on LinkedIn of the idea of review and having an agent that grades like the other agent's like output. And so back to AI systems and, you know, if I were a freelancer trying to charge someone, like, is that an example of a very simple system that could exist, and how would you price it? You know, knowing that you're not going to really like write the copy, but you're going to create the system that does, or show your client, you know, I have the best prompts, I have the best context, I have the best like examples, you know, I'm pulling from all the right levers that's going to make it like be this living, breathing like system, so you can do it. And so again, not every project, that might be for more evergreen things. There's going to be exceptions, but yeah, it's something I can definitely see. So
it's a lot to think about because I think it's really a solid tool. Well, two things. One is it's a solid tool if AI is grading based on numerical, like word count and grade level and things. It's like I just learned about the Fleisch reading scale last year.
Yes, the readability scale.
You know about this? So yeah. Like,
so is this the 5th grade? Is this the reading? Tell me about it again. Yeah.
It's just a number that's assigned, and I discovered it using an LLM, and I graded 3 articles: a client's article and 2 competitors. And the client's was the worst, which is great for me. Makes me look really smart. And then I told them, like, here's your number, here's your client, here's your competitor's numbers. Let's get this number up or down, actually, in this case, like more readable. So I could see it being that, where it starts to be like, it's all that intangible stuff, that objective stuff or subjective stuff, where it's is it the brand? You know, it's like the creative director that goes, that's not it. That's not us. It's sort of like that breath. So I can see it and I can not see it.
Okay, and this is the readability scale, right? And it was probably because they had too much like jargon.
Or something.
It had too much jargon in like it or something like that. Like maybe lots of long-winded words and stuff. That was Yeah. Who knows? That's wild.
It was cool, and so I can see that. And then I remember worked on this project, and the client was this billionaire guy who was plugged into all these other billionaires, and he was like, "Look, this is like 3 years ago." He was like, "AI is going to do all this anyway," you know, in that kind of shrug kind of way. He's like, "Can't you just, because we were doing the brand for him, can't you just do an LLM that writes all this in the style of the new brand?" And we were like, we don't know how to do that. We don't even know what that's like. Right. Now, 3 years later, it feels like, well, we're all going to have to figure that out.
Yeah, we are. I think so. And I think though too, just noting that systems will evolve, brands change, business plans change, learnings happen. I mean, what if you do it and you find out that things are tanking and sentiment is low? Like, we got to do something about it. You can't just say, "Oh wait, but that's what AIs do." Like, there's going to come a point where we have the feedback loop for a reason, and it's not another AI because the other AI is not going to spend $1 on that. Like,
that's right.
Unless I'm sure it's happening in the corner of the internet somewhere. AIs are like buying things with crypto and being each other's audiences. I guess that's what the new AI world, social world, what is it called? That's out there.
I mean, the last thing I heard was they were hiring real people to do real jobs, because they were saying, the agents were saying, we need to hire real people to do this. Like, oh, okay. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting to the point.
Okay.
Because I've done this.
We've hit a wall.
I've done this where where they plug it in and they show the client, I can't like go into super detail, but I know that clients have seen AI content and they have said, what is this?
Yeah.
This isn't right, or this
Yeah,
doesn't
exactly.
sound blah, blah. And when you realize the client wins, and the clients are the pickiest people ever, even the great stuff that we write, when we were freelancers or we're freelancing, they're like, it could be a little better, or like
Yeah.
I showed my wife and she didn't like it. She wrote this other thing. Imagine telling an LLM who's like thinks it's 100% capable.
Yeah.
This non-expert weighed in and said they had a better line. The data centers are gonna explode.
Yeah. There will be. Yeah, you just have to know things. I mean, it's important not to think in fixed systems. It's important to think in terms of like shifts and, I mean, things we say, and even in UX design, like there's certain design paradigms that like go out of style like really quick. Okay, Apple, tried this on their UI, and that went really good, but then like, okay, like they scrapped it because it wasn't working as well anymore, like they removed it, like, so we shouldn't just copy that. I don't know, in terms of like how we interact on our phones and the design of things. Also, like, I'm really hot on listening to like where the trends with audio is going and voice is going. I think there's a lot of exciting stuff there. Talking to the experience, I think we're going to hit a better leap with that over, that we previously weren't. I mean, Alexa and Siri's been a little cumbersome, but I think we're going to find another way. And so that's going to open up some interesting things. And so, yeah, these things change, and like, we can't, like, when we design experiences and, test them and learn, like, people are going to react in different ways, and we have to go back and iterate. We can't just like, leave it to an AI entity to decide, or we can use it to assist us, but like not like, there's still going to be some decisions to be made. So yeah,
it's messy. It's very messy in the middle of breakthroughs. It's just very, very messy. My final thought is that I heard from this expert that is really kind of blew my mind was the last time we had this big of a shift in society, it was flash frozen food. And I keep using this because it makes sense to me, but tell me if it makes sense to you. But this guy, it was Clarence Birdseye. It was literally his name, Clarence Birdseye. He was hanging out with the Inuit population in Alaska, some people in the early 1910s or something, and he saw how they would freeze the fish to make it last longer.
Right.
And he came back and was like, we don't need to throw away food anymore.
Oh.
And we don't need to grow as much food because we can freeze food at peak ripeness. And overnight, flash frozen changed the entire world. And
Totally.
Clarence Birdseye put all these farmers suffered, and you can ask the LLM.
Wow.
What was the net jobs? And the farmers like got crushed by flash frozen because they literally were just throwing away things or not growing as much anymore. But guess what happened? They had to, just like data centers, they had to create giant factories that were cold, with ice and electricity, and they had to come up with all that stuff. People to manage the frozenness, people to manage the train cars that were frozen, people to check the temperatures. And actually, the net jobs were 1-to-1. Like the people
high
who
maintenance.
were out, the people who the industry created for flash frozen, it grew the jobs around exactly the same. And it wasn't for lack of pain, but it was like, it's also something where you couldn't see train cars that were frozen moving fish across America. What? And it's like, oh yeah, that's just literally how we live now. Nobody thinks about it.
Oh my, that is an amazing story. I really dig that. It was that I'm trying to find a joke but I can't think of one. Oh gosh, that's really good.
That's why. That's why we have Birdseye frozen foods at the grocery store. That's why it's called.
There,
Birdseye.
yeah, I would.
Birdseye
I
brand.
mean, I saw it all. Like, I will actually never unsee that. Every time I go into the frozen food section, I'm gonna think about all those fish in the Alaskan lake or wherever they decided to do that, just getting frozen, and I will just like, I will not unsee it.
Yeah. So next time somebody brings up AI, you can say like, "Let me tell you about Clarence Birdseye for a minute."
Yeah. So good, so good.
All right. Well, Neil, thank you for coming on, chatting with me. Always good to talk
Of course.
to you. You're awesome.
You
I'm
too,
excited to
Zach.
follow your career and what you do next and listen to your pods. Subscribe to Neil's Substack. Listen to his micro pods. They're great. Today's was great. Derek's, is it Silvers?
Derek Thompson did a
Thompson.
plain English podcast. I'm not on the podcast, but he did a really good episode on literacy versus orality and how it relates to AI. And I kind of did a little recap on it. I think a remix. I call it a remix where I like chit chat about some other thing that back to media that matters that I think really does relate to like AI and how to think about it. It's very similar to your analogy on frozen food, only it was more involving the alphabet and writing and the discovery of that versus like when we used to talk and where's AI's role in that. Yeah, I got a post on that. I think there's more to come with that. So
nice. Yeah, keep it up. Keep listening. Listen to that one, everybody, and we'll keep in touch with Neil. We'll have you on again. We'll chat through things again.
Zach, honor and a privilege. You are superly talented and just super smart, and the person who needs to be out there talking about these things right now. So we all respect you and thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Neil, man. Appreciate it, and we'll be in touch, dude. Thanks for coming on.
All right. See ya.
All right. See ya.